Welcome back, everyone. It's a few days later and I finally got the part that I was needing. So I finally got the new switch to be able to replace the one on this unit. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, obviously unplug the power. I'm going to drain the whole thing out, and then I'm going to start taking this off, and I'll bring you along with me. All right, so I got the cover off. Now here's what I like to do, just because I'm not super bright. So I like to come in here and take a picture of where everything is at, and I'm sure most people do. And so I'm going to reuse this pop-off valve or high pressure release valve, and I'm going to use this gauge, this one, and put it back on. But I like to look at the way everything is connected, and I'm just going to do it the same. So I'm not going to go into detail on that because this is what I'm going to do. I'm literally going to take pictures of all this, see where every wire is, and then put the new one on the same way. So again, I just took this first little plate off here, and then I just took a picture showing, where all the lines were. So I've got a picture of all that. So I've got my positive, my negative, my ground, and then, obviously same thing up here. I'm just gonna take pictures of all that and be ready to go. So this hose here, which I believe controls the pressure relief valve, I think, I don't know. Anyhow, it kind of swivels down here, and it connects here, right down in there, if you can see that, to the main. And if you'll notice, it was on the old one, so when they sent me that replacement, I'm having to rob a lot of stuff off this. Like, they didn't send the little back plate here and the ground screw, which is fine. I played with this thing a while, trying to get that hose off there, and then I just realized that it's just one of those that, I guess they call it pressure, where you just stab it in the hole and then it grabs it and locks it. So pretty straightforward. So far I haven't been super confused or shocked by any of it. It's pretty easy. I had a new fitting for that. I was able to put that on. And I'm just filling it with Teflon, as I do it. So I'm about to put the gauge back on, as well as the shutoff. So stay tuned. All right, so I don't know if you can hear that. I'm trying to back away from it, but so I got it all wired up. Super easy to do. I mean, not hard, so I didn't show it. One thing I am worried about is I bought it and it said, 105 to 140 max PSI. So I think that should govern it out. I didn't mess with any of the settings, so I don't know when it's going to cut off, so I'm just kind of keeping an eye on the gauge. And I've let it run for a little bit now. It's not up very high, so I'm going to go ahead and shut it off, and I'll take you in for a closer look. As you can see, it's working much better now. Got everything plugged in, and don't forget, you have to put a cap on this one here too. I mean, honestly, I just robbed all the parts. This was super easy to find online. So we're only at, what is that, 40 PSI or in the tank. My pop-off valve's working, and so now I'm just going to be quiet for a second and see if I hear any leaks. Nope, didn't hear any. That's perfect. So what I did before is this switch is supposed to bounce back a little bit when you go to turn it off or on. It's supposed to have a little bit of spring to it, and I had this off trying to fix it, and I held it in that position and it burned up. But quite honestly, I wanted to replace all this anyway because I didn't know anything about it, and I don't know if the guy before me jacked it up. So let's let it fill up and keep an eye on it. All right, so the rest of the video was pretty uneventful. Remember, I swapped everything out and just wired it up. Now, here's where it gets funny. So like when the first time I turn it on, I'm a weirdo when it comes to like pressure, things that are pressurized. I don't know, I've always been like this. I'm not a big baby, but the first time it kicks on, I'm kind of standing back to make sure it's going to cut off. I know there's a pressure relief valve. I know there's safety controls, but anytime anything's under pressure, I'm worried. So you see me standing across the room, kind of eyes squinted, like, is it going to go off? But that's where we talk about cut in and cut out. So let me swap you around here and I'll show you. All right, so I'm going to unplug this, and we're full now, as you can see. So it cut off right around 140. It basically cut off right in the middle of the 120, 150. And I mean, we probably have a little bit of an air leak somewhere. I don't hear it, but it's just, you're gonna have that. But what I was gonna show you was, we talk about cut in and cut out. And this switch was great. I'm happy with this switch because it was obviously $37 and it looks just like this is the original. I mean, it's actually the same brand. It's Condor, But this is the diagram we're talking about here. It talks about cut out and cut in. And so it says if you turn this little small one clockwise, it's going to increase cutout pressure without affecting cut in. And if you turn this one clockwise, it's going to increase both cut out and cut in. And so, cut in is when the compressor is going to kick back on when it's running down. Cut out is when it's going to turn off. So our cutout is already good. I'm happy with that. We're at 140 max PSI on this, and you know the government regulation. I mean, if it says 140 max PSI, that probably means this is, 175 tested or 190. Who knows with them, Like by their rules, if we were really being honest, most of us wouldn't be able to get on a ladder. Like, it's ridiculous. Anywho's, these are those two switches, or two adjustments. So this one does both cut in and cut out, clockwise increase, counterclockwise decrease. This one does just the, I already forgot, cut out. So when I opened this up, this one had a big old daub of silicone right in the middle of it, because it does turn pretty easily, but I'm gonna leave that. I turned it one time just to see, but I think they put silicone on them really to tell you, like, hey, stupid, don't mess with this. So this thing was already set. So right now when I let it run down, it cuts back in at 90 and turns on, and then it turns off, in between there. So I'm tempted to put silicone back on that to lock it in. This one already has some on it, and I didn't turn that. I just don't want it to vibrate loose. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. As with anything new, I'm going to keep an eye on it for a little while I use it. But pretty easy to do, I'll say. I did put Teflon tape on things. The right thing to do would have probably been to buy a new pressure relief valve and some other things. But honestly, I didn't want to spend any more money. So, because I've got to still outfit this thing. Now I've got to go get some oil. And I didn't buy the stuff at Harbor Freight. I was actually going to go get the Mobile One 100% synthetic that they call for, which honestly, they said 10W30 full synthetic would work. So I'm going to go get that. But I bought some other little toys for it, some trinkets. This is the shorter cord that I had on it. Hey, by the way, too, I said this was junk and janky. Yeah, I tried to find another one at Home Depot or Lowe's, and all they have are these. I was looking for like a big fat round one. And I know I could have got online and ordered a nice one, but I just didn't want to wait. But what I did do is I bought this little three-way. Always wanted one of those. And then I also bought this. That's a filter. I don't even know if I bought the right one, but this one had great reviews at Harbor Freight. And I bought this little jumper hose because I didn't want to tear up another hose. And so what I'm planning on doing is I'm probably going to mount a board either here or here and run the jumper to that filter, like maybe right in here, and then mount that extension. So that way I can come over here and plug hoses in without pulling on fittings, and maybe put a piece of conduit strap on it. I don't like this. I like the big shutoff that he's got here. But all these fittings, I'm not really happy with them, but I'm just probably going to leave them. Quite honestly, I may change these if they leak, but I'm probably just going to leave them because they're here, and I don't want to have to go try to find fittings. I wanted it to be a little bit nicer and neater, but I do like he's got the master turn off there, line valve. And I may make it where this one can be plugged into still. I don't know. I don't like the hoses hanging over here and do this. I may just put it up here. So anyway, I got to figure out what's going to work best and get everything kind of out of the way. So I don't think I'll post a video on that, or maybe I will. Just, we'll see. So now I just got to change the oil, the Earl as they call it, and we're ready to use it. So stay tuned. So the story continues. We are now changing the oil. And on this particular one, let me see if I can get a good angle here. Hang on. On this particular one, the drain is right on the front, really close to the gauge. And then this is the oil fill. You'll notice it, I'll show you in a minute, but there is a little picture on an oil can, like, old school oil can on the front of it. Doesn't look like it holds much oil. And again, I'm not a mechanic. I don't think it looks too bad, but you know what I mean? I really don't know. But not too much. People ask me, how much oil does it hold? About half of an OxyClean bottle, or box, or whatever you want to call it, container. So she's still just trickling out a little bit. And so now I'm just gonna use the old funnel, fill her up, and again, get it to where it's right in the center of that little ball there. And the trick, I'm guessing, is just add a little bit at a time and make sure that you don't overfill it. If you do, I guess you could always just drain some out. But I don't know, it smells oily, and I'll be honest with you, it smells a little bit burnt. So I don't know if it got water in it or something and maybe lost some of its viscosity. I don't know. But hang tight, let me let this drip in. Let me let this finish dripping, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, I don't know. What is that? Maybe about a quart? I don't know. We're gonna see. And hey, as you can see, sorry I'm moving you around there, but look here. So there's the oil plug right there. And then this is what it recommended. Mobile One, 10W30, full synthetic. You know, they make like Campbell Hausfield oil and things like that, but I didn't think that was that necessary to go brand specific. So there we go, we're cleaned out. Now I'm just gonna get the old funnel and fill it up. And there you have it. I mean, it took just a smidgen over a quart. Not a skosh, a smidgen. Actually, I spilled probably 2 tablespoons, so honestly, if I wouldn't have spilt it, a quart would have probably been enough, and then I just put that back on. And now we're ready to go. Now, if you want to see something else, I went ahead and cleaned this up, you know, got her zip tied out of the way. And then I mounted a board on the wall to put the filter. And then, I don't know, I've seen some guys do some different things, and I thought I might just share mine because maybe it's a good idea for you guys. I went with the fittings they had, and then I just put this little jumper on there to supply it to the filter. But then I went ahead and left this one up front here because I thought, you know, if you're just airing up tires or something like that, maybe you want to go full bore and have it with, because there's no regulator here, right? So that's going to be in full send mode, which is probably fine if you're going to air up tires or something like that. And thus far, this little Merlin filter, the only thing I can say is that, you know, it does creep a little bit. I mean, it's not super precise, but for 99 bucks, I'm okay with it. Didn't have a hard time finding the fittings, but I don't usually like doing the fittings like that, but had to do it. And honestly, I filled this thing up, I don't know, 45 minutes ago, and it was at right there, 2 marks past 120. I don't feel like doing the math, but you get it. So I'm losing a little bit of air. Probably got a little leak somewhere in here. But thus far, when I crank this on and this on, I'm not getting any leaks. So obviously I'm not going to leave it cranked on like that whenever I'm not using it. But I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell about this little Merlin deal. But like I said, man, I didn't want to go buy, you know, a $150 filter because quite honestly, I'm not even going to have to use that very much. But the only reason I really bought it is because I may want to use it someday, and I had to get a regulator anyway. And since it came with a regulator nozzle, but I can see myself using a paint gun, you know, a gravity fed or a cup gun or something like that, where I might want to have the filter on there. But I'm looking and researching now, and now they're saying you got to have a dryer and all kind. Anyway, it all goes down. You know, it just keeps going down. You keep going down the road, and more and more and more. But I think for now, this is enough definitely to get me started with sandblasting. Now that I at least got the compressor up and going, and we'll get started with some sandblasting projects. So hopefully we'll show you that here in the near future. But hope it was informational to you. Again, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but I know when I was searching for videos out there to give me specific answers about some of the stuff, I couldn't find a video like this that kind of explains some of this. So honestly, I did some research and I called some buddies just to make sure I got it right. And so I hope it helps you, help me. Anyway, you probably already fast forwarded through this or closed the video because you got the information you needed. So take care of yourself. Have a great evening. See you.